Dear students, welcome to another video tutorials on operating system. And today's topic is memory management. Myself Niladri Shekhar Pal, I am working as an assistant professor at Computer Science and Engineering Department at Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management. The college is situated at Baruipur and the college is under JISB. So what is memory management? Basically, memory management is the process of controlling and coordinating computer memory. Okay, assigning portions, okay, known as blocks to various running programs to optimize the overall performance of the system. It is the most important function of an operating system that manages primary memory. It also helps processes to move back and forward between the main memory and execution disk. It's also help OS to keep track of every memory location, irrespective of whether it is allocated to some processes or it remains free. So, memory management is the functionality of an operating system which handles or manages primary memory and moves processes back and forth between main memory and disk burning execution. Memory management keeps track of each and every memory location, regardless of either it is allocated to some processes or it is free. It checks how much memory is to be allocated to processes. It decides which process will get memory at what time. Okay? It tracks whenever some memory gets freed or unallocated and correspondingly it updates the status. Okay, so as we know, the program or the process or the any program is situated at the secondary memory. Okay, and all the programs are executed by the main memory or at main memory by the CPU. Okay, so from the secondary memory, the program needs to become to the main memory for execution. Okay, but main memory has very limited space. Okay, a program or the process size may be larger than the main memory. Okay, so all these typical works are handled by the memory. Okay, so all these portions are comes under the memory management. It tracks whenever some memory gets freed or unallocated and correspondingly it updates the status. Okay, so what are the functions of memory management? Okay, basically we use memory management. Okay, because it allows us to check how much memory needs to be allocated to processes that decides which processor should get memory at what time. Tracks whenever inventory gets freed or unallocated. According to it, it will update the status. It allocates the space to application routines. It also makes sure that these applications do not interfere with each other. Okay, it helps protect different processes from each other. It also places the programs in memory so that the memory is utilized to its full extent. So it keeps track of every memory location, track whatever whether memory is allocated or not, track how much memory is allocated, takes decision which process will get memory and when, updates the status of memory location when it is allocated or free. Okay, so what is process address space? The process address space is the set of logical addresses, okay, that a process references in its code. For example, when a 32-bit addressing is in use, addresses can range from 0 to 0x7 FFFFF, that is 2 to the power 31 possible numbers. Okay? for a total theoretical size of 2 gigabytes. The operating system takes care of mapping the logical address to physical addresses at the time of memory allocation to the program. Okay. There are three types of addresses used in a program before and after memory is allocated. One is symbolic addresses, another one is relative addresses, and the third one is the physical addresses. Okay. So what is the symbolic addresses? The addresses used in a source code. Okay. The variable names, constants, and instruction labels are the basic elements of the symbolic address. What is relative addresses? At the time of compilation, a compiler converts symbolic addresses into relative addresses. What are the relative addresses? Or will be physical addresses. The loader generates these addresses at the time when a program is loaded into the main memory. Okay, so virtual and physical addresses are the same in compile time and load time. Okay. Now come to the what is physical address space. Physical address space identifies the physical location in a memory. MMU or memory management unit computes the physical address for the corresponding logical address. Okay. Virtual and physical addresses are the same in compile time and load time address binding schemes. Virtual and physical addresses differ in execution time address binding scheme. The set of all logical addresses generated by a program is referred to as a logical address space, and the set of all physical addresses corresponding to these logical addresses is referred to as a physical address space. So MME is also uses logical address computing physical addresses. The user will never deals with the physical addresses. Instead, the physical addresses is accessed by its corresponding logical address by the user. The user program generates the logical address and thinks that the program is running in this logical address. But the program needs physical memory for its execution. Hence, the logical address must be mapped to the physical address before they are used. So, what are the logical addresses? These are the address generated by the CPU, okay, while a program is running is referred as logical address. The logical address is virtual as it does not exist physically. Hence, it is also called as virtual address. This address is used as a reference to access the physical memory location. The set of all logical addresses generated by a program's perspective is called logical address space. Okay? The logical address is mapped to its corresponding physical address by a hardware device called memory management unit. The address binding methods used by MMU generates identical logical and physical address during compile time and load time. However, while runtime, the address binding methods generates different logical and physical address. Okay. So these are the basic comparisons between logical address space and physical address space. Okay. This is very important for your semester examination. Okay, the number one is basic. In case of logical address, it is the virtual address generated by the CPU. But in case of physical address, it is the physical address is a location in a memory unit. Okay, so the existence of physical address is available, but there is no physical existence of the logical address. It is basically a virtual address which is generated by the CPU. Next one is address space. In logical address, set of all logical addresses generated by the CPU in reference to a program is referred to as logical address. But in case of physical addresses, set of all physical addresses mapped to the corresponding logical addresses is referred to as physical address. Okay. Next one is the visibility. The user can view the logical address of a program, but user can never view the physical address of a program. But the existence of physical address is available, but there is no existence of the logical addresses. Okay. And what are the access? In case of logical address, the user uses the logical address, okay, to access the physical address. But in case of physical address, the user cannot directly access the physical address. Next one is the generation. The logical address is generated by the CPU, whereas the physical address is computed by the MMA. Okay, that is memory management unit. So these are the differences between logical and physical addresses. So the first one is it is the virtual addresses generated by the CPU. In case of physical address, it is a location in memory unit. Next one is set of all logical addresses generated by the CPU in reference to a program is referred as logical address space, and set of all physical addresses mapped to the corresponding logical addresses is referred to as physical address. And the next point is the user can view the logical address of a program, and in the other hand, the user cannot never view physical addresses of the program. And the next point is the user uses the logical addresses to access the physical address. Okay, but in case of physical address, the user cannot directly access the physical address. The next point is the logical address is generated by the CPU, and whereas in the other hand, the physical address is computed by the MMU or the memory management unit. Okay. Next, what is swapping? So swapping is basically a mechanism in which a process can be swapped temporarily out of main memory, okay, to secondary storage and make the memory available to the processes. It is a method in which processes should be swapped temporarily from the main memory to the backing store. It will be later brought back into the memory for continued execution. Okay. Backing store is a hard disk or some other secondary storage device that should be enough in order to accommodate copies of all memory images for all the users. Okay, it is also capable of offering direct access to these memory images. Okay, so at some later time the system swaps back the process from the secondary storage to the main memory. Okay, so swapping is a mechanism in which a process can be swapped temporarily out of main memory to secondary storage, okay, and make the memory available to other processes. Next one is at some later time, the system swaps back the process from the secondary storage to main memory. Though the performance is usually affected by swapping process, but it helps in running multiple and big processes in parallel. And that's the reason swapping is also known as technique for memory compression. Okay. Now these are the swapping. Okay, as you can see that the process 1, this is the process 2. So the process P1 is swapped out from main memory to the secondary memory, and the process N is swapped in here. Okay, so P1 comes back after IO operation. Okay, it will go for IO operation to the secondary memory. When it will complete, it will again come to the main memory. Okay, so these are the swapping, okay, of different processes from main memory to secondary memory. Okay, the purposes are different. Okay, so the total time taken by the swapping process includes the time it takes to move the entire process to a secondary disk and then to copy the process back to memory, as well as the time the process takes, okay, back to memory, as well as the time the process takes to regain main memory. Okay, so let us assume that the user process is size 2048 KB. Okay, on the standard hard disk where swapping will take place has a data transfer of rate around 1 MB per second. Okay, so the actual transfer of the 1000K process or from memory will take 2048 KB divided by 1024 KB per second. Okay, so it will take 2 seconds or 2000 milliseconds. Okay, so as you can see that the size is 2048 KB. Okay, and the transfer rate is 1 MB. 1 MB means 1024 KB per second. Okay, so it will take 2 seconds to transfer. Okay, so now considering in and out time, it will take complete 4000 milliseconds plus other overhead where the process completes to begin in the main memory. Okay, so what is contiguous memory allocation? In contiguous memory allocation, each process is contained in a single contiguous block of memory. Memory is divided into several fixed size partitions. Okay, so the main aim of it is to prevent process from accessing memory that has not been allocated to it. Hence prevents a bug within a process from affecting other processes or the operating system itself and instead results in a segmentation fault or storage violation, exception being sent to the disturbing process, generally the killing of processes. Okay, so we have skipped the what are the advantages or the benefits of swapping. Let's discuss what are the benefits of swapping. Okay, I have skipped that one. Okay, advantages of or the benefits of the swapping. Okay, I'm discussing it. Okay, basically swapping offers a higher degree of multi-programming. Okay, it allows dynamic reallocation. For example, if address binding at execution time is being used, then processes can be swapped in at different locations. Else, in case of compile and load time bindings, processes should be moved to some other locations. It also helps to get better utilizations of memory. Minimum wastage of CPU time on completions, so it can easily be applied to a priority-based scheduling method to improve the performance. Okay. Now, what is memory allocation? It is a very important. It is basically a process, okay, by which computer programs are assigned memory or space. It has basically two parts. One is low memory and the higher. Another one is high memory. Low memory is means operating system resides in this type of memory. Okay, and in case of high memory, user processes are held in high memory. Okay, so next one is memory allocation. Memory allocation is a process by which computer programs are assigned memory or space. As you can see, there are three types. One is first fit, next one is best fit, and the third one is worst fit. There are three types. Okay. What is first fit? The first hole that is big enough is allocated to program. Okay. That means you have consecutive memory allocations. Okay. The first one, which will be fitted to hold that process, will get that process. What is best fit? The smallest hole that is big enough to allocate the program. Okay, that means in this case there is less wastage of memory. And worst fit, okay, it is the largest hole that is big enough to allocate the program. That is means that the hole is largest but the process is the smallest. Okay, so the maximum wastage is of memory. So there are three types of memory allocation. One is first fit, next one is best fit, and the third one is worst fit. Okay. So now what is fragmentation? As processes are loaded and removed from memory, the free memory space is broken into little pieces. Okay. It happens after some times that processes cannot be allocated to memory blocks, considering their small size and memory blocks remain unused. This problem is known as fragmentation. Fragmentation generally occurs in a dynamic memory allocation system when most of the free blocks are too small to satisfy any request. It is generally termed as inability to use the available memory. Now, there are different types of fragmentation. One is external fragmentation and the another one is internal fragmentation. So now what is external fragmentation? In such situation, processes are loaded and removed from the memory. Okay. As a result of this, free holes exists to satisfy a request but is non-contiguous, that is the memory is fragmented into large number of small holes. This phenomenon is known as external fragmentation. Next one is internal fragmentation. At times, the physical memory is broken into fixed size blocks and memory is allocated in unit of block sizes. Okay? The memory allocated to a space may be slightly larger than the requested memory. The differences between allocated and required memory is known as internal fragmentation. That is the memory that is internal to a partition but is of no use. So these are the pictorial representation of fragmented. Okay. So fragmented memory before compactation, you can see these are the fragmented areas. Okay. But after fragmentation, after compactation, the fragmented portions are after the processes. Okay. So what are the problems on memory allocation? Consider a swapping system in which memory consists of the following whole sizes in memory order. That is 10K, 4K, 20K, 18K, 7K, 9K, 12K, 15K. Okay, these are the in consecutive order. Okay, and which whole is taken for successive segment requests are 12K, 10K, and 9K. Okay, so we have to find out the first fit, best fit, and worst fit. Okay, so at first we will do the first fit. So these are the holes. Okay, 10K, 4K. Okay, these are all the consecutive. Okay, and what are the segment requests that are 12K, 10K, and 9K? Okay, so 12K, 10K, and 9K. Okay, so in case of first fit, what will it check? 12K will check first this 10K. Whether 12K is can be stored in 10K? No. Next, it will check 4K. Whether 12K will be can be done in 4K? No. Then 20K. 12K can be done inserted in 20K? Yes. Okay. So at first 12K will check 10K, then 4K, and after that 20K. And in 20K, 12K can be fitted. Okay. So 12K is being inserted. Next one is 10K. Okay. So 10K will first check 10K and it can be fitted within this 10K. Okay. So the 10K will be inserted here. Next is 9K. 9K will first check 4K. 20K is already reserved. Then it will check 18K. Okay. So 18K is greater than 9K. Okay. So 9K can be easily inserted in the 18K. Okay. So this is how, this is the best first fit. Okay. Next one is best fit. Okay. So these are the holes 10K, 4K, 20K, 18K, 7K, 9K, 12K, and 15K. All are in consecutive orders, and these are the requests. Okay. So in the case of best fit, what will happen? The CPU will check among these elements. Okay, 10K, these all these. Which one is the largest? Okay, what are the largest? Or which one can be fitted by the 12K? So 20K can be fitted, 18K can be fitted, 12K can be fitted, and 15K can be fitted. Okay. So these four elements can be fitted by at 12K. Okay. So after that, CPU will check the smallest among these four. Okay. And the smallest among these four is this 12K. Okay. So the 12K will be inserted here. Okay. So what is the process? At first CPU will check that where these are these are the hole sizes. Okay, so it will check all the hole sizes. Okay, and it will find the holes that is greater than equal to 12k. So here, there are four holes which is greater than equal to 12k, that is 20k, 18k, 12k and 15k. Okay, and then it will find the smallest among these four, and 12k is the smallest among these four. Okay, so this 12k will be inserted at this position. Okay, okay. Next 10k. So 10k can be inserted at 10k, 20k, 18k and 15k. And smallest among these is this 10k. Okay, so it will be inserted at the 10k. Okay, so the next one is 9k. Okay, so it will check this is 20k, 18k, 15k. Okay, so it will be inserted at 15k. Sorry, there is a little problem here. Okay, there is a 9k. Okay, I have missed it. Okay, so let's check it. So let's do once again. So 9k can be inserted at 20k, 18k, 15k and 9k. Okay, so smallest among these is 9k. Okay, so 9k will be fitted here. Okay, so this is the fund of best fit. Okay, so at first we will check all the possible holes. Okay, that can be inserted, and after that we will find the smallest one. Now come to the worst fit. So these are the elements. So these are the requests. So in case of worst case, we will find the largest of these holes. Okay. So what is the largest of these holes? That is 20k. Okay. So we'll directly insert 12k on the largest hole. That is okay. So after that, we will check the second largest among these, and the second largest is 18k. Okay. So 10k will be inserted at the second largest. Next, we will check the third largest. So 15 is the third largest. So 9k will be inserted. Okay. So in this worst case fit, we will find the largest among these holes, and okay, and we will first insert the first request to the largest, and we will put the second request to the second largest, and this is how we will go on. Okay. So let's do another example. Here 5 memory partitions are here: 100 KB, 500 KB, 200, 316, 600 KB. Okay, and we have to do the first fit, best fit, worst fit, and the elements are 212 KB, 417 KB, 112 KB, and 426 KB. All are in order. Okay, so we have put it these holes here: 100, 500, 200, 300, and 600. Okay, so at first we will do the first fit. These are the elements. Okay, so in case of first fit, 212 KB will first check with 100 KB. It will not be inserted as 100 KB is less than 212 KB. Next 500 KB is greater than 212 KB. Okay, so 212 KB will be inserted here. Next one is 417 KB. Okay, we cannot insert 417 KB in 100 KB. In 200 KB it will not be inserted. It will not be inserted in 300 KB hole. We will insert it in the 600 KB hole. Okay. So now we have 112 KB and 426 KB. Okay. So 11 KB is not will not be inserted here, as 100 KB is less than 112 KB. Next 112 KB will be inserted at 200 KB hole, as 112 KB is smaller than 200 KB. Okay. So it has been inserted here. So 426 KB is left. So the holes remaining is 100 KB and 300 KB. Okay, so we cannot insert a 426 KB page request in any one of these holes. Okay, as all the remaining holes are smaller than the request. Okay, so in first fit we cannot able to insert the process all the so it cannot be inserted here. Next one is best fit. We will find out the largest among these. Okay, so 212 kb will be at can be stored at 500 kb or 300 kb or 600 kb, and the smallest among is 300 kb. Okay, so 212 will be inserted here. Next one is 417 kb. 417 kb can be inserted at 500 and 600, and smallest among 500 and 600 is 417. Okay, so it has been inserted at 500. Next one is 112 kb. It can be inserted at 200 kb and 600 kb, and smallest among is 200 kb. Okay, so it is inserted 200 kb. Next one is 426 kb. Okay, so it will be inserted at 600 kb. Okay, as there is only single hole remaining. Next one is worst fit. Okay, so what is the largest among these holes? That is 600. Okay, so the 212 will be inserted at 600 kb hole. Next one, the next second highest is 500. Okay, so 417 kb will be inserted at 500. Next, the third highest is 300. Okay, so 11 kb, 112 kb will be inserted here. Okay, so the remaining holes are 100 and 200. Okay, so 4 to 6 kb cannot be inserted anywhere. Okay, so this is the problems on memory allocation. This basically comes on your semester examination or in GATE. You will may get one of these. Okay, so students, this is all about the memory allocations. Okay, and the different examples on memory allocation. Okay, the best fit, worst fit, first fit. This is very important, and this can come in your exam. If you have any problem on these problems, you can write it in the comment section. I will try to solve it. Okay, if you have liked my video, you can subscribe my channel, or you can visit www.facebook.com/digitalclassroomnilajipal and like my video tutorial. Okay, so students, thank you for now. See you in the next tutorial.